Now, welcome to Straight Shoot News, Part 2 of Episode 14 of The Awakening. Bigger than Biden. Stand up now or surrender our founding vision of representative government. Starting the beginning, a deep dive now. So, in this segment here, I'm going to show you the unreal expectations from the House committees that actually thought they were going to have some cooperation, and that the checks and balances in the U.S. Constitution are vital to our freedom and our futures. Really meant something. Like I said, we're going to put the two, and I want you to pay attention. Listen to this closely, because this was a week ago updated to this week. Roll with that.
Friday, May 5th. It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast. White House is still refusing to answer any questions about the whistleblower who says Joe Biden sold out America to foreign nationals. Watch this.
I'm going to have to refer you to the Justice Department on that. I have nothing for you on that today.
No, do you know what this is, what country this pertains to, or what policy decision?
I have nothing for you, sir. I'm going to have to refer you to the Justice Department.
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is sending a subpoena to FBI Director Christopher Wray, demanding that he testify on the allegations that the Bureau possesses an unclassified internal document which proves then Vice President Joe Biden leveraged U.S. policy for personal gain. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley raising the possibility that the White House may have to block House investigators from obtaining the document. Watch this.
It'll be successful unless the White House classifies this document. And they better not, because I know it's a non-classified document, but they could keep me from getting it by classifying it.
Joining me right now is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning.
Well, there's so much to talk to you about. You're doing a great job digging into this. What can you tell us about the whistleblower claims? What is the whistleblower saying specifically?
Well, as you know, Maria, Senator Grassley and I have reviewed a legally protected and highly credible whistleblower document, which alleges that there was an exchange of money for policy decisions made by then Vice President Joe Biden. We have determined that whistleblower is extremely credible, and based on the bank records that I've been getting, and you and I have been talking about on your show for weeks now, and based on the fact that 9 different Biden family members have been receiving payments from a web of LLCs that are receiving payments from our adversaries around the world, this fits a pattern of questionable behavior that the Biden family members have been doing to receive funds. So we take this whistleblower claim very seriously. We know it exists. We know the FBI has the document. As Senator Grassley said, it is not classified. So we want that document in our possession. And we also want to know what the FBI did to verify the claim of the whistleblower.
Yeah, I mean, I know of at least one decision that Joe Biden made years ago about pretty much waiving all federal audit requirements for Chinese listed companies on U.S. exchanges. And I'm wondering if this is one of the decisions that you're looking at. As we've discussed before, back in 2013, then Vice President Biden signed a memorandum of understanding with Chinese officials to allow all these Chinese companies to trade on our exchanges. And they didn't have to follow any of the audit rules that other public companies have to. You told me you were looking at 6 specific decisions that Joe Biden made that could be decisions that he was paid for personally. Is that one of them?
Well, Maria, the odds that that's one of them are very high right now. You've done a tremendous job reporting this from day one. I wish the mainstream media would follow suit. But
I wanted to hone in on this confidential human source document, this 1023. The FBI has effectively confirmed its existence, but they won't turn it over. What are the next steps? And why would they confirm its existence without actually handing it over? Does that possibly indicate that there's an ongoing investigation? Can we hope?
Well, I mean, it could indicate that. The problem is they've had it for a long time. I mean, you know, they had it before Joe Biden became president, and we're 75% of the way through his presidency now, and they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything with the president's son. So, part of what we asked for, in addition to the document, was information as to what exactly the FBI did to verify this claim, and if in fact they did anything to verify the claim. And the reason it's important to me is because what the whistleblower has alleged is consistent with a pattern that we're seeing from the Biden family in taking money from foreign nationals and then laundering it through a whole host of shell companies before they send it back down to just about every member of the Biden family. And we only talked about two countries yesterday, John. We only talked about Romania and China.
Right.
I mean, you've got people in these other countries, including China, that they dealt with that are either in prison, either on trial, or either missing. I mean, these are some of the worst people on the planet that Hunter and the president's brother were shaking down for money. And what we want to know, John, we now know the family got the money. We want to know what they did to get the money.
And there seems to be a prevailing opinion that as far as Joe Biden is concerned, of course, his years and years on Capitol Hill in the Senate, that there were some possibly shady ways of operating. So among the American people, there has been that perception. I think for a lot of people, the concern is that now this has expanded beyond our borders because I guess corrupt birds of a feather flock together, and highlighting what John said regarding the relationships with corrupt business people in Ukraine, in China, in Romania. The concern, I think, for a lot of people is that now the word is out that America is corrupt as well.
Yeah, I mean, the damage that Joe Biden has done to the reputation of the United States is almost irreparable. I mean, Joe Biden not only has, through his leadership, diminished our standing on the international stage, but because of his personal behavior and the behavior of his entire family. With the bank records that we provided yesterday, he's made the United States look like some of these third world countries that presidents of the past have criticized for corruption. And right now, the biggest obstacle for me getting the facts is our own government, is the Department of Justice, is the FBI. And that's unacceptable. And you mentioned the members of Congress have been here a long time. I haven't been in Congress but 6 years, but Chuck Grassley's been here a long time. And he's pretty upset at the way the FBI has treated our subpoena. I mean, this is an investigation of the President of the United States for public corruption. We presented a pattern of payment from adversaries and foreign nationals all over the planet. This whistleblower, what he's alleging, is consistent with the pattern of bank records and the behavior that we presented and outlined yesterday in our press conference. And yet the FBI says, well, just trust us. If there's anything there, we'll look into it. I mean, that's not going to cut it. But what about money laundering? And that's not my words. That's the words of multiple banks in those violations implied that there was money laundering going on. What about racketeering? Racketeering is when you create shell companies and fake companies that serve no purpose other than to launder money. I mean, what about, as Jonathan Turley talks about all the time, being an unregistered foreign agent? I mean, those are three serious felonies right there.
Your other question was about a subpoena to the FBI. There are checks and balances, and there is oversight. Congress has a right to have that knowledge, and I will have a conversation with Director Wray about that and make sure that happens.
Jim Jordan.
Quite a bit in that. And I'm updating it. It's even more concerning. So what do we have? We heard the Biden administration saying, oh, we're going to refer you to the Justice Department. Justice Department, the Compromise Justice Department. Let that sink in. Grassley was concerned about taking unclassified documents and classifying them. Got a legitimate concern right there. The FBI won't release the document. That document seems to be pretty important to unraveling this whole criminal cabal that includes the FBI and CIA. Let me explain something here. You're talking about foreign governments now. The FBI's purview is to focus on what's taking place in the U.S. That's their duty, and that's what they've been assigned to. Now, what you're not hearing is them mentioning the CIA. The CIA, their jurisdiction is globally. They're supposed to be informing the president, and you'll see that some of our following parts. Why it was set up, what it was set up to do, and what it's become. But right now, let's just focus. The CIA is supposed to protect our nation from foreign problems with spying. But what are they really doing? Okay, so here we go. Again, the Chinese companies. Biden waives restrictions on Chinese companies. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, all Chinese companies operate under the CCP, and every Chinese company is part of the Communist Chinese military. Let that sink in. Again, whistleblowers are gone missing? Seriously? We're talking about racketeering charges here? Are the people they're talking about dangerous? Racketeering? Why would people be in fear of their life? Well, with that being said, let's move on to part two and take a look about how the intelligence agencies are directly involved in jeopardizing U.S. national security. Roll that.
Jordan's doing a great job looking into the weaponization of the DOJ and FBI. You know, all along with anything pertaining to Joe Biden, where it's classified documents, whether it's the mischief that his son, the crimes that his son has committed, the FBI and the IRS have a history of turning a blind eye and burying it, just like they did with the laptop. They thought when they got that laptop from the repairman that they took it and it disappeared. They didn't know that there were copies out there. So we want to know, what did they do with this document, Maria, whether or not this document exists. There's no question as to whether or not this whistleblower is highly credible. The question is, what did the FBI do with this information?
It is Joe Biden that they're paying for. He was a sitting vice president. He's a sitting president. They want his approval or his ability to give them access to getting into America in some way. I mean, that's why the CCP is buying up land and trying to buy up land. Did he allow that? Why did he walk into the White House and shut down the China initiative as one of his first
That's a big deal
jobs
right there, Maria.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. The Biden family have received a lot of payment from the Chinese Communist Party, from entities that are state-owned entities. What that means is they were owned by China, which means they're owned by the Chinese Communist Party. To buy interest in energy companies in the United States, all the things that Congress is working in a bipartisan way to stop China from doing. Joe Biden's son was getting paid by the Chinese Communist Party to try to help them do it in the United States.
It's even more stunning that you can have intelligence officials actually turning a blind eye to this. We know that the former intelligence officials John Brennan and James Clapper are going to testify in front of a House panel this month on why they signed that letter, which suggested that the Biden laptop was a part of Russian disinformation campaign We've got newly surfaced emails show that back in 2020, former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morrell asked Brennan to sign the Hunter Biden laptop disinformation letter. Brennan responded, add my name to the list. Good initiative, Congressman. It seems to me that these are the very people who abused their power. Back in 2016 and 2017, I remember disgusting tweets from John Brennan about Donald Trump colluding with Russia. That was a complete lie. They had to know that it was made up. We have the notes from John Brennan when he was telling President Obama that the Russians are aware of the story Hillary Clinton came up with to tie Trump to a Russia scandal. And here he is again, inserting himself, using that former CIA title as credibility to say the Biden laptop was Russian disinformation.
And one of the things that continues to come up with the people that we communicate with in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, that people that are in what I would consider the deep state, they say the same thing. These people know the Bidens are corrupt, and the most important thing to our intelligence community was defeating Donald Trump to protect the Bidens or anyone else who was trying to do their darndest to defeat Donald Trump. So the intelligence community has lied time after time to Chuck Grassley about whether or not they were looking into certain things pertaining to the Biden family. They have lied time after time. We know this document exists. We want the document, and we want to know what they did to verify the document.
Quite a bit there in that short segment. Remember now, no checks and balances, no constitution, no rights for the American people. So we already know from part one that Brennan and Clapper already admitted it was all lies. Mike Turner told us that. Then we have the real goal. What's the real goal? Biden's taking these bribes from communist China, compromise the U.S. and national security. No oversight by Congress, elected officials means no representative form of government. Communist Chinese right now are trying to prove they're a major adversary now in the world. You can keep hearing Russia, Russia, Russia all you want. But Putin is nothing compared to the power that Xi Jinping wields. They're trying to prove that the Western style of government is a failure due to corruption. Now, next in part 3, we're going to show you the consequences about what Joe Biden and his administration are doing. And we know it really isn't just the Joe Biden administration. It's the Obama administration who's running that show, and one and the same. They sold out the USA. Why? This is what we need to find out now. We'll see you in part 3.